All right, let's get to our last question of the afternoon.
Another one.
Implementing Agile for a high school teacher. Is that possible? My answer before even reading the question is hell yeah. Hell to the yeah, yeah, yeah. So what is the question? What is the question? So it says, I teach high school tech and would like my students to be able to list Agile experiences when applying for jobs. Please suggest a training that would make sense for me in this context so that I can implement strategies officially for the benefit of the students. I love this question. And you know what? Teacher, Mr. or Mrs. Teacher, whoever you are, shout out to you.
They ain't believing us.
Because a big thing for me is the earlier you can start training the youth on the whole STEM field and the tech industry, preparing them for work and stuff like that, the better it is. The better it is. So you are doing the work of the Lord.
Let's get it.
All right. So how would I implement training for Agile for high school students? Well, I'm going to tell you this. It would be exactly as I implemented for my coaching group. So why is it that when we have grades in school, we'll have like a progress report in the middle of the quarter or the semester, and then at the end of, because I think in like K through 12, it's 4 quarters, right? I think in college it's like 3 semesters. But in high school and stuff like that, it's 4 quarters. And it's like we'll get a progress report in the middle of the quarter, and then we'll get our report card and stuff like that. But why does it have to be that way? Why couldn't we run our classrooms as Agile, as sprints, every 2 weeks, right? So we have a backlog. Let's start off like this, right? So this if I was a high school teacher, if I was a high school teacher, which I don't think I ever will be, but if I was a high school teacher, or if I was coaching high school students, right, this is what I would do. At the beginning of the quarter, right, of the grading period, I am going to have a planning. What is that thing flashing? Anyways, I'm going to have a planning. I'm going to say, all right, what is that? It's something flashing behind me. I'm sorry. Like I get distracted, right? But I would say, all right, we're gonna have a quarterly planning. We are going to say, all right, this is what our goals are for the quarter, and I'm going to actually create a backlog of all the stories that we need to accomplish, and I'm going to have the students point those stories. So if you're a tech teacher, right, and you say, all right, we want to build the high school's website, and we want it to have these features. So we're going, like, in the first week of the quarter, we're going to say, okay, this is what we want to accomplish. We're going to have a story mapping session. Then we're going to say, all right, these are all the stories that we have written out. And then we're going to have, like, these are all the things we need to hit. In the next week, I'm going to say, all right, we need to start saying, all right, what is the first thing that we need to get done? And that way you can take them through the whole process of developing an application. You can take them through the process of writing user stories, where you can assign, you can say, all right, for this quarter, Sally, Susan, and Mark are going to be the product owners and Scrum masters, right? And John, Joe, Jane, whoever else are going to be developers and QA and stuff like that. And then, so they're going to have to get the stories written out, acceptance criteria, all that good stuff, right? And then they're going to take that, and they're going to have the stories say, all right, what are we going to get into our first sprint? Goes for 2 weeks. And you just go 2 weeks until the quarter's over. and you're pointing, you're having your sprint reviews, you're having your retros, you're having your you're having your planning sessions, not all day planning sessions, right? As Del Finchik said, hour and a half, 2 hours at most, just saying, right? And you go through the whole process. And then once you're done with that process, like, so now the quarter's over, happy as this is the last question because I can barely talk. All right, so you go through the quarter and then you rotate the whoever's your scrum master, whoever's your engineers, so that they can take on different roles as well. So that's how I would implement it for a agile, like in high school, for an agile team. That's a strategy that I would use so that I could have my students become more familiar with agile. All right. So let me know your thoughts on that, but I'm going to wrap that question up because I can't even talk anymore. I can't even talk anymore.
I try to live what they let go, away to dreams they'll never know. But a drowning soul can't save the tide, and now I see I must step aside.
I fought till my hands turned to stone, carrying battles that weren't my own. They swore they'd stand but turned away, left me to bleed in the fray.
I held the line as long as I could, fought for the spark they misunderstood. They whispered dreams they'd never choose, said they were in but lived to lose. I can't fight for you no more, knocking on a locked up door. You said you were in but faded out, your silence echoes a deafening shout.
I wanted to see your colors fly, but you clipped your wings and let them die. You craved the fall, not the fight to win, a war within that you let begin.
I can't fight for you no more, knocking on a locked up door. You said you were in but faded out, your silence echoes a deafening shout. I saw the fire dim in their eyes, promises buried under their lies. They wore the crown of fleeting belief, but ran from the throne when it brought grief. Oh,
I tried to carry your weight on my back, but your shadow was a heavy attack. You disappeared when the fire burned high, left me screaming at an empty sky.
I wanted the victory more than they, but you can't chase stars for those who stray. So I lay down the sword and walk away. The battle's lost, they chose decay. I can't fight for you no more, knocking on a locked up door. You said you were in but faded out, your silence echoes a deafening shout. Oh, they vanished like shadows in the light, fading away when it's time to fight. I reach my hand, they let it fall. I can't catch ghosts, I've given it all.
Oh, they vanish like shadows in the light, fading away when it's time to fight. I reached my hand, they let it fall. I can't catch ghosts, I've given it all.